Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Trey Gowdy, and it's Sunday night in America. DOJ released a heavily redacted version of the affidavit used to search former President Trump's home. The document looks more like a Rorschach ink blot test than a legal filing. But there were a couple of new items. The word obstruction was used, which may foreshadow another line of criminal inquiry. There was discussion about where the documents were stored at Mar-a-Lago, which is strange because DOJ's position is Trump wasn't entitled to the documents no matter how many padlocks were on the door. And the department and FBI took a petty, sophomoric swipe at Kash Patel. You may recall DOJ didn't want the affidavit released at all, even with redactions, because of potential danger to agents and witnesses. And then DOJ left Kash's name unredacted, thereby endangering a witness. And they wonder why people think there's a double standard. So here we are. DOJ believes the former president took and retained documents belonging to the federal government, including items marked classified. Some of the documents are alleged to be very highly classified. The New York and D.C. media are breathlessly calling for Trump's indictment. On the one hand, it's good to know there are still some crimes liberal media personalities think should be prosecuted. On the other hand, many Americans still have questions. These questions are not political, they're factual and legal. If you're contemplating indicting a former president, I think we're entitled to more than 38 pages of black lines and some DOJ leaks. Did the former president personally take these documents from the White House, or did someone else pack the boxes? When did Trump learn what was taken? Did Trump or his legal team knowingly withhold documents after being asked to return them? Was there a good faith disagreement on what had to be legally returned? When and why did negotiations between Trump's lawyers and DOJ break down? What classified documents were found? Why wait months to retrieve these documents if they contain highly sensitive material? Can a president declassify whatever he or she wants, and how does that process work? In essence, what did the former president do? What is his explanation for doing it? And did he persist even after being advised that legal criminal statutes were at issue? Have you treated former presidents and high-ranking government officials the same since these laws pertaining to records went into effect? These questions can be answered by DOJ. Clearly, the department is talking to liberal reporters. If you're going to tell the story, tell it all and tell everyone. Tell the American people. Don't claim you can't comment on uncharged conduct. Jim Comey had a press conference and cited all the reasons Hillary Clinton could be charged but would not be. Robert Mueller issued a public report on then President Trump, who was never charged. You don't have to be charged to spill the facts. If there's a case to indict a former president, give us what you got. There's also someone else who can help. Donald Trump can provide these answers. He doesn't have to, but he can. What was taken? Did you know these documents were at your home? Did you know some documents were classified? Why were the documents taken? Why were they not returned? Did your lawyers communicate these requests to you? To whom was the declassification order given? When? Was it memorialized? Why not copy the non-classified documents and return the originals? Perhaps some people have already made up their minds, but many have not. They want more information. Is this really about the return of documents or something else? If it's about the return of documents, they're back now. So why is DOJ saying the investigation is just beginning? What's at stake are two foundational beliefs: that no one is above or beneath the law, not even former presidents. And number two, similar facts should lead to similar outcomes. Justice should be the same for everyone and never be used as a political weapon. This is important for the country, so give us more than 38 pages of redacted nothingness.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.